BSED-SCIFIL. Now I'm going to discuss together with Ms. Fuyo if what is checklist is. We all know that assessment contributes to students' learning by requiring them to explain, apply, analyze, synthesize, and be creative with knowledge, where this can help students to continue widen and broaden their understandings as well as their skills. So, checklists are one of the tools that clarify assessment tasks and the feedback associated with it. Another is according to Mr. Mark Justin Dipande, who served as the researcher of my group. Thank you. That checklist is a tool that the student can use to make sure that they have met all requirements of an assignment that will be assessed. To make it clear, checklist is created by the teacher to decide which feature of the assignment are importantly enough to factor how the work will be graded or otherwise evaluated. Well, for more information, here is Ms. Fuyo to elaborate what this checklist is. Ms. Fuyo?
Thank you, Ms. Bugarin. Now, let's proceed to the discussion about checklists. What is a checklist? Checklists are assessment tools that set out specific criteria, which educators and students may use to measure skill development and progress. A tool used to set out skills, attitudes, strategies, and behaviors for evaluation and offer ways to systematically organize information about a student or group of students. It is used for identifying whether the task in a procedure, process, or activity have been completed. A checklist is a set of criteria teachers provide to ensure that students understand how to fulfill all requirements of an assessment. For example, before submitting a research report for grading, a student can refer to a list of components the teacher needs in the final project, such as page, report, maps, or tables and bibliography. Checklist grading is similar in many ways to grading with a rubric, so much so that most rubrics can be translated rather directly into checklists. The checklist time-saving advantage is that instead of struggling over which performance category a student works falls into, then explaining to each student why it fell into that category, you convert performance criteria into individual elements. Then, grade everything on a 2-point scale. It is basically a series of yes or no, present or absent, pass or fail, complete or incomplete judgments instead. A student, a group of students, or an entire class may use checklists. They may be single-use or designed for multiple usage. Next is the purpose of checklist. The purpose of checklist is to provide tools for systematically recording observations. It also aims to provide students with tools that they can use for self-evaluation, to provide examples of criteria for students at the beginning of a project or learning activity. Another purpose of checklist is to document the development of skills, strategies, attitudes, and behaviors that are necessary for effective learning. Also, to identify students' learning needs by summarizing learning need. Teachers or instructors can create a checklist that account tasks to be completed in a particular order, allowing learners to check the task off as they are completed. An example of this is following a recipe or a lab experiment. A checklist that allows the review of completed course content. For example, to review if students completed Module 1, 2, or 3 readings. Allow assignment-based checklists to ensure that the appropriate items are covered in the assignment. For example, if students use minimum number of resources, use appropriate citation format, included a works cited section, and etc. Also, allow for a method of assessment by evaluating and assessing with checklists. For example, listing a set of sequential behavior arranged in categories to determine if a learner exhibits competencies. And that is my discussion about checklists.
Good day everyone. We will be discussing about the narrative report as grading system. Narrative report or narrative evaluation system is a non-traditional grading system that provides constructive feedback on students' strengths and weaknesses using narrative format. Let us learn more about narrative report as we listen to Ms. Merela Binano and Ms. Adriana Soriales.
Using narrative evaluation system has its advantages for education. This helps to promote better student-teacher relationship. NES encourages cooperation, collaboration, and creativity by personalizing description of student performances. It points out strengths and weaknesses and help them grow personally and professionally. Although narrative report is often time-consuming, still, it helps to promote better student performance. That will be all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now let's take a look at the disadvantages of using narrative evaluation system. The greatest negative side of using narrative evaluation system is the time commitment it requires from the teachers. This grading system requires greater time and effort from the teachers since they have to keep detailed notes on each of the students' performance. And at the same time, they have to give their comments and suggestions on how will the students improve. Teachers using this kind of grading system are also expected to make their comments appear as constructive criticism. That is because the report must appear as motivation for the learners and not as discouragement for their progress. However, in the Philippines, traditional grading system is more likely to be used rather than the narrative report. In fact, an article from the Teacher PH said that narrative report is only being used for kindergarten level, wherein teachers from this level are expected to keep a portfolio for the learner's output, and that portfolio will serve as evidence for their narrative comments about their learners' progress. All in all, narrative report has its negative side and the positive side. That is why the authority must take a look on each of these aspects before deciding on which grading system will be implemented.
Thank you, Ms. Merila Binano and Ms. Adriana Soriales for that very informative discussion. Parents and teachers are somehow aligned with one goal, to make their children and students have the education and the skills they deserve. Reporting to parents is an essential part of the parent, teacher, and school partnership. Report cards are indicators and mirrors of the child's holistic development in school. Now, I am very pleased to introduce the next discussants for the topic report card. First, we have Ms. Riza Mancera Habal for the definition, and next up is Ms. Janice Dino Balatinsayo for the purpose of report cards, all from Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Filipino. Let your minds be filled with the gist of the topic.
A report card, or sometimes called progress report, provides written record of students' performance on curriculum outcomes over a period of time. It is issued by the school to the students' parents twice to 4 times yearly. A typical report card uses a grading scale, either percentage grades or letter grades, scored in a class taken by the students. A typical report card today are frequently issued in automated form by computers, making it easier for teachers to record and compute grades. Meanwhile, a traditional report card contains a section for teachers to record their individual comment about students' behavior and performance. But in today's school report cards, it doesn't come with those comments. In the present school report card, key features include learning area, quarter, remarks, final rating, attendance record, and learners observed values issued by the DepEd, whereas it is makatao, makadiyos, makabansa, at makakalikasan.
According to Education Act Section 196, one of the roles of teacher is to regularly evaluate the students and to periodically report the result of evaluation to students, parents, and the board. In accordance, the Guide to Education 2013 also states that the assessment of student progress in relation to the outcome outlined in a program of study is important and required for reporting the student progress clearly to students and parents. These two documents provide legal basis for reporting student performance to both parents and students. So the question here is, why is it important to report students' progress or performance in school? Specifically, the purpose of report card is to inform a child's parent of his or her academic progress during the school year. Many parents consider report card as the most important document they receive from the school. As a result, the content of the report card often affects how they form their opinion of the school's concern for their child. Thus, it is imperative that the quarterly report card accurately reflects on student performance. A report card should provide straightforward information about what students know and can demonstrate relative to the graded curriculum.
Thank you very much, Ms. Denise Balantisayo and Ms. Riza Habal for an informative presentation. Now, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce the next presenter who is going to talk about the Parent-Teacher Conference, one of the best ways to enhance students' learning. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Rica May Gonzalez.
Thank you, Ms. Pauline Lacau. Let us now talk about what is a Parent-Teacher Conference. A Parent-Teacher Conference is a meeting between a student's parents and teacher or teachers to discuss the child's progress academically, socially, and with regard to expected classroom behavior. Parent-teacher conferences should be used as a platform to make a lasting bond with the parent to increase the likelihood of academic success for their child. A parent-teacher conference is a great opportunity to share academic progress and growth based on classroom observations, testing data, assessments, portfolios, and assignments. Teachers should learn from parents or guardians so they'll be better informed about students' strengths, needs, behaviors, and learning styles. Teacher-parent conferences should not be used as a venue to acknowledge the flaws and inabilities of students, but as a stepping stone to foster improvement within each child. For teachers, there are acceptable behavior during teacher-parent conferences. First, greet parents with warmth and admiration. They are taking time out of their busy schedule just to meet with you. Next, summarize the positives before beginning on the particular problems the child is exhibiting in the class. Formal dress should be worn during teacher-parent conferences. This will reflect the meeting's importance and help win respect from parents. Always have a clear-cut plan of action for improving the success of the child. Present the child's classroom work to the parents during the conference. This will give them a visual representation of the corrective action needed. Next, set goals for improvement. And lastly, end the teacher-parent conference on a positive note and ask for assistance from the parents. Teacher-parent conferences can be an uncomfortable situation for many parents. However, establishing an honest and productive relationship with your child's teacher can help increase the likelihood of academic success for your child. Strong parent involvement will send a positive message to your child. Parents should follow a few helpful hints to make sure a teacher-parent conference will be beneficial to their child. Before the teacher-parent conference, schedule an appointment with the teacher. Teachers should make a special accommodations for working parents. Prepare a list of questions to ask the teacher. Likewise, what are the areas my child is struggling in? Is my child completing his or her assignments on time? What are my child's strengths? Is my child misbehaving in class? Also, talk with your child before the parent-teacher conference. During the parent-teacher conference, establish rapport with the teacher. Ask questions concerning your child, and listen carefully for the positive and negative suggestions from the teacher. Don't take criticism from teachers personally during teacher-parent conferences. They want to see your child succeed. Develop an action plan. It should include steps to resolve and improve upon the student's performance in class. Make sure there are specific goals and objectives for the student to meet in the future. After the teacher-parent conference, keep in touch with the teacher regarding the progress of your child. Send a thank you note to the teacher to thank them for taking the time to meet with you. Watch the behavior and progress of your child. That would be all for parent-teacher conference. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gonzalez, for sharing us the information about the parent-teacher conference. This is Julian Doyog from BSED-SCIFIL 3A. Communication between teacher and parents are necessary for monitoring the student's development, whether in what field they excel and where they need to improve. So now, as we continue this webinar, let's welcome Janice Diaz and Michelle Delaja as they tackle the other communication that a teacher can use in communicating the parents.
Good morning, I am Janice Diaz, and the topic that I'll be discussing is about the other communication that teachers can use in communicating the parents of his or her students. Students need feedback and opportunities to reflect on their learning so that further learning can occur. Parents need thorough information and need to be involved in the reporting process through a variety of communication methods. One is student portfolios. It shows a student work. Work samples have descriptor of the task and outcomes achieved. They show process and finished products. Reports and portfolios should be read together. End of year written reports. Parents or teachers can request an interview at any time if there is an issue in academics, social, medical that needs to be addressed. Next is ensuring that parents receive ongoing information. Students' agendas, emails, phone calls, and interviews are all effective mechanisms for sharing information with parents. At report card time, parents should already know where their child is experiencing success and where additional support may be required.
Thank you. Now I am going to protract what Ms. Diaz has been shared about other ways of communicating or reporting to parents. A teacher can set a goal to send individual emails to parents with overviews of their child's progress on a monthly or weekly basis. And to avoid declutter, they are just going to keep their inbox organized just by doing subfolder with the name of each student. Another will be making phone calls. Phone calls can help the teacher to build rapport with the parents, and they allow them to instantly communicate students' progress. There may be instances that parents might think the worst or expect the worst just by hearing your voice. So what are you going to do is to explain them well that the intention of your call is just to check in and update them about their child's progress. All schools are required to hold a formal meeting with individual parents at least once a year just to report them their child's attainments and progress. Just for example, the end-year school report, which include all the record of the pupils' levels of attainment on all the subject areas in the primary school curriculum, along with some comments in their development in terms of social and personal development. Reporting may be defined as communicating of information about students' progress between the school and parents. So, what the teacher needs to do is to invest time in parent communication because parent needs more, parent deserves more. Thank you.
Thank you, presenters, for that knowledge-rich and informative discussion about communicating authentic assessment results. I hope that it helps you understand the concepts behind the topic. Once again, this is Sharon Claude J. Labayani. Thank you and God bless.